The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Chair, I want to refer the Minister, and to be fair to the Minister, he's not the Portfolio Minister, and I just wonder whether the Portfolio Minister, who's I'm sure here, I can't quite see all avenues of the chamber, whether this is such an important issue that the Portfolio Minister, Dr Mick Smith, might be prepared to...
I think the member is aware that drawing attention to the absence of...
I didn't say it was that.
Well, I think the member did indicate he's not in the chamber, which is an indication that he's absent. So I'll just ask the member to address the questions.
Sure. Mr Chair, well, I would hope, to put it this way, sir, that the Minister and the Chair, who eminent Minister though he is, this is not his portfolio, I hope he can make a valiant attempt to answer some of these technical questions, which ordinarily, given the gravity of this piece of legislation, the tragedy that we are dealing with, 42,000 plus claims, I would have thought this was such an issue of moment that the Portfolio Minister would at least, sir, take a call wherever he may be. I want to refer to the regulatory impact statement, and I would like to ask the Minister if I could refer to, and this covers the entire legislation actually, it's an interesting piece of prose, paragraph 4, which says, due to the, I quote, due to the sensitivity of the weathertightness issue and the negative impact speculation can have on leaky homeowners to make informed decisions, and the impact it can have on ongoing discussion with territorial authorities and banks, consultation has been targeted. I can understand that to some extent. Then I go on and quote again, limited consultation means that the present analysis has to rely on limited evidence. Well, that's self-evident. Therefore, there is uncertainty about the costs and benefits of the options. Now, that's quite an interesting statement from officials, and I won't name the official. I know the official used to work in my office as my advisor, very eminent official actually, and it worries me that an official of that stature would write this down on a piece of paper, and I take that official absolutely at their word. But it creates a whole series of questions around the cost and benefits when you have an official document, a RIS, saying therefore there is uncertainty about the costs and benefits of the options. Now, I wouldn't mind, and I'm sure others, for the avoidance of doubt, for those who are following this debate, who are subject to the difficulties that we're trying to address, I'm sure they'd like an explanation from government in some way, shape or form as to what that means. Because I would have thought the government would have, this is such an issue of moment that the government would have, despite the sensitivities, to quote this report, would have done extensive consultation, would have gathered extensive evidence, and would be able to put quite definitively estimates of costs and say with some authority based on evidence that they were certain about the cost and benefits of the options. Now this raises a whole can of worms because it's a document produced by the government that says, well, in essence, if we take it literally, we don't quite know whether this is going to, have any effect at all, whether it's going to be beneficial, whether it's going to achieve what government policy wants. And if you actually look at the point I made before about the estimates of 16,000 claimants, and we've got 87 actually in this, I think I said 86, but it's 87 in the system, then that evidence would bear out the uncertainty contained within this RIS. So I say with all seriousness, this is a serious issue that's raised in the regulatory impact statement, one that on the one hand we're clarifying through the taking out of the criteria out of the Gazette notice, placing it within the legislation for the avoidance of doubt, to ensure there's total clarity, which we all agree with. On the other hand, we have a regulatory impact statement that basically says we don't know which way's up. We don't know, we're uncertain about the costs and benefits of the options. Now, I've been in the Odds Select Committee, and when officials come into you, I think there was an IRD bill we dealt with earlier in the year, and they say, well, you ask officials, will this work? And when I've been as a minister, the first question you ask officials is, will this work? And if they look at you strangely and they can't quite answer it, then you realise pretty quickly, if the old grey matter's working, that there's something wrong inherently. Now we're at the stage of this bill, been through Select Committee, into committee stage, gone right through the cabinet process prior to that, and we've got a regulatory impact statement that says they're not sure, uncertain about the costs and benefits. So I don't know if the minister could indicate And again, in fairness, he is not the portfolio minister, and these are quite technical issues specific to the portfolio, and he's obviously sort of been dropped in it tonight, so I do have a bit of sympathy for him. But perhaps he could gain from his officials some answer. You know, is the sort of guy with the shovel behind the elephant, Mr. Chair.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Perhaps he could ask his officials, who are learned, if they could pass him some notes and give us some explanations to put some certainty and dissolve some of the uncertainty that's been raised by the regulatory impact statement. It's page 1, it's paragraph 4, it's sitting there, it's glaringly obvious, and when you read it, you think, well, you know, why are we here? Why weren't these issues resolved well before this legislation was put to the Parliament and put through the Select Committee? So this is not just an issue of politics. There are people, there are lawyers dealing with victims of leaky homes, there are victims of leaky homes sitting out there hoping that this will provide them some assistance, and they'll be looking at this going, well, what does that mean? If the government's own officials themselves aren't convinced of the validity of this policy, well, you might want to wind it up. Mr. I can't remember his name, the one who stood for Wellington Central.
You's not winding
Sorry,
anything.
not
you.
you.
You might wind
not
something
you,
up
sir.
pretty soon.
The gentleman beside the Chief Whip, I can't actually recall his name, but you know, he may want to wind up this issue. He may want to go round perhaps Wellington Central and other places and visit some of those folk who are in desperate need of assistance. And we're trying to act with some goodwill over here. That's why we'd like, you know, I know the members knew, that's why we'd like some answers to pretty serious questions. Maybe, the member has been in government. Maybe if he gets a report like this that says we don't know the costs and benefits of a particular policy, we're uncertain about it, you know, in his little world maybe that doesn't mean much, but to other people it's sort of, hang on, is this going to work? He may be happy to push through legislation, whether it works or not, might be a political stunt. I actually have some goodwill to the government. I think they are trying to make a genuine effort. So you might want to go around and, you know, tap on a few doors and ask a few people how they're doing in respect of their leaky home issues, and then wind up. So, sir, I'd appreciate some of those questions being answered and getting some of this stuff on the record so that we can do away with the uncertainty that this particular document now puts before us.